What's going on, everybody? It's your boy. Story time. My first deployment. Wow. So we got to take this back all the way to 2015. March 2015, I got to the fleet. Like 2 weeks later, I was told that I was deploying. Now, keep in mind, I'm at Camp Pendleton. It was always my dream to go to California. Now, I was actually living this reality of, holy shit, I'm in California now. You know, I wanted to have fun. I wanted to explore and everything else. The last thing that, I was worried about at that time was deploying. So keep in mind, I'm still a brand new Marine, just hit the fleet, didn't know anything about my MOS other than what, they taught us at the schoolhouse. There was only 4 of us in our entire MOS in that unit, and we were all boots. We all got to the fleet at the same time, right? So months go by. I believe we took off in September, late September or early October 2015. So I was only there for like 6 months before I even deployed, right? And most of that, most of me working and everything consists of pre-deployment, training and all the other stuff. So as far as free time, we had a lot of it, but I was still new. I was still young. I really didn't experience California the way I wanted to. But October, we deployed to Kuwait on a special purpose MAGTF, right? So we get to Kuwait, right? And it's absolutely the opposite of what I thought it was going to be. I thought we was going to be somewhere in a shitty fucking hellhole, right? But it turns out we go to Al Jaber. It's an Air Force base in Kuwait. It has fucking Subway, Pizza Hut. What else they have, that motherfucker? All types of restaurants and all types of shit that had like chow halls that never closed. It was luxury, man. It was life. Now, granted, we were still living in like these big tents and everything, but like that shit was, it was nice. It was like, it was not a bad lifestyle at all out there, and I absolutely loved it, right? So I'm out there in Kuwait for, I believe, 3 weeks to a month. I believe we got there in October. I left in November. So, long story short, it's about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. I got woken up and told that I have 30 minutes to pack all my shit. I'm going to Iraq. At that time, I was like, what the fuck do you mean, pack all my shit, I'm going to Iraq? I was like, nobody told me nothing before this. But turns out, yeah, I had to pack all my shit in 30 minutes. To go to Iraq, you know what I'm saying? I had shit scattered all over the place because I was a nasty boot during that time, right? So I had to fucking clean up all that shit without fucking waking anybody else up because they'll probably yell at me, right? So I get done packing. My staff sergeant walks in. First thing he says to me, "Hey, stupid, change into your frogs." I was wearing my actual, Garrison camis. So I was like, fuck. Now I gotta dig out my frog gear that's inside my pack just to change into my frogs. So that's cool. And then at the same time, he also gave me all my ammunition, So I had to fill up all my fucking magazines before we even get to the flight line. So they drove up with a fucking a go-kart with it was like a go-kart, right? I threw all my shit on it. Had all my gear on. They took me out to the flight line. We sat there. We waited a little bit, and we flew on Ospreys to Iraq. Right? For those who haven't been on an Osprey, it's just like, it's the helicopter plane helicopter fucking hybrid, right? The ones that has 2 rotors on the side. You guys know what the fuck it is, MV-22s. So we get to Iraq. It is pitch fucking dark outside. I don't even know what time it is because they told us we had to turn off all of our phones. I didn't have a watch during that time. So we get out there. We couldn't see shit because, light discipline at full effect whenever we get out there. We had like a van come up, swoop us up, pick us up, throw all of our shit in it. They took us inside the fob, right? It's pitch fucking black. I didn't even know my way to get there. So we get to the fob, and the first person I saw, I was happy as fuck, is my boy Gregory, right? Here's the funny part to this story, because my boy Gregory, we was both Lance Corporals at the time. He's a water dog. His job deals with water, purification. He's a purification specialist, right? I'm a fueler. They sent him out to Iraq, Advon, to do my job, right? He was the fueler of the FOB during his time. He went around the base, filling up all the generators, running the fuel for him, all that stuff. That's not his MOS. He had no idea what the fuck was going on, right? So that's the part I find funny. But I was sent out there simply to replace him. But he wasn't leaving until like another week. So I had a week to spend with him. You know, he spunked me up on everything. Now keep in mind, I'm still a brand new Marine, and the unit that I'm with never had boat fuel specialists before. So as far as gear, we only had fuel 6-cons. Those are just fuel storage tanks, modular tanks that go on top of 7 tons and shit. That's the only gear we had at COB1. So before all of that time, as far as getting actual training on my MOS, I had none. I had no experience. And you know, a couple weeks go by and everything. Well, a couple days go by, and now it's time for him to leave. You know, I was like, man, this sucks, because it was just us two doing that shit. We had an Army guy who was at the fuel farm, but he's a fucking Army guy. Like, I'm no offense to Army people or Army soldiers or anything like that, but it's like, if I didn't think I knew how to do my fucking job, that dude definitely didn't know what the fuck was going on. And he was a sergeant, right? I was just a Lance Corporal during the time. But now it gets to the point, my boy, he takes off, he leaves. I'm like, fuck, now I'm by myself now. Not really, because I have other Marines who was in my platoon during that time there, but I never saw them, because my job was simply to fill up all the generators around base. I remember it to this fucking day. 114 fuel generators scattered along that fucking FOB. 114. Most of them I had to fill up twice a day because they were small. And I didn't have enough barrels and enough auxiliary cords to connect the generators to the auxiliary cords, so that way they can suck fuel out of a barrel, a 55-gallon barrel. So I had to fucking go around and fill those up twice a day, because fuel generators eat up a lot of diesel, right? So, and also I had to operate the fuel farm as well, which is what the Army guy was doing, but you know, come on, right? So during that time, you know, I'll probably say the first 3 months of me being there, I probably only got 4 hours of sleep every night, because my schedule looks like, you know, I wake up probably around 4 o'clock in the morning. Now that's when I got to go out and do my first shifts of fucking filling up the generators. That takes like 3-4 fucking hours. It takes a long time, because you got to drive the truck around, pull out the hose, fill it up, retract the hose, drive to the next one. It was a fucking mess, right? So a couple months go by, and then I finally get some help. They flew in a couple more soldiers, Army soldiers, to come out there and help me out, because this is the funniest fucking story, right? I'm gonna tell you guys right here. Funniest fucking story. Whenever we got there, we didn't have the necessary personnel to operate majority of the vehicles. Me being a fueler, obviously I didn't have a fucking license for any of the trucks or anything. When I tell you guys I operated every fucking piece of equipment out there, I'm talking Humvees, which I stole a Humvee, by the way. Funny story. I didn't steal a Humvee, but they were scattered, right? And I got tired of fucking walking the, you know, mile and a half to where I worked every goddamn morning. So, or taking the fuel truck there. So I stole a Humvee, so that way, you know, I can get around a little bit whenever I'm not working. So, every fucking tactical vehicle, Humvees, LVSRs, 7 tons, fucking HE equipment, 5Ks, MCTs, the little fucking, the other one, I forgot what the fuck it's called. But I operated all that shit, because I didn't understand at that time is when out there in country, nobody gives a fuck. Like, if we have a fucking mission to do, we will do that fucking mission. Nobody gave a fuck whenever it came about nothing. And that's what I miss so much about that shit. So here's the funny fucking story, right? So I'm driving a fuel truck. This is after I get some help. The other Army soldiers came to help me out. We had 4 HEMTTs. HEMTTs are fuel trucks that look like LVSRs. Look it up. We had 4 HEMTTs, and we also had a fuel tanker. You know, we had a truck with a fucking 5,000-gallon tank on the back of it. So we're all, you know, we're going to get fuel. I'm not going to tell you guys how we got fuel, because that's like secret, right? But we got fuel. But on our way back to the FOB, of entering the FOB, this is around 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Now keep in mind, I barely got sleep as it is. I usually go to sleep around 12, but now I had to wake up even earlier to get the trucks prepped so that we can go out and get fuel, which takes extremely a long fucking time, right? So on the way of me coming back into the fucking ECP, I hit the side of the barrier in ECP. I didn't realize it, right? Because I didn't have a ground guide. We at that point was like, man, fuck this shit. This is stupid. So we didn't want a fucking ground guide. So everybody pretty much stayed in the trucks, which turned out to be one of the biggest fucking mistakes, right? I clipped I'm in a big fuel truck with a 2,500 gallon main fuel tank. So that's the storage tank where I issue out of. But the tank I hit was the truck's actual fuel tank. So the truck's itself fuel tank. I clipped the side of that motherfucker. I felt the bump. So I was like, what the fuck? I look out of my rearview mirror. I'm looking down. All I see is fucking fuel pouring on the fucking ground in ECP. I'm talking about, I drained that motherfucker out, right? So I was like, oh fuck. I told my A driver, who was an Army soldier, he wasn't a fueler, he was a pump. He was like a pump mechanic or some bullshit like that. I was like, yo, go check that out. See what the fuck did I do? He was like, yeah, bro, you fucking hit it. So I'm like, fuck. So all the grunts are out there like, oh fuck, this shit ain't gonna fucking explode, is it? You know, fucking typical grunt shit. So I was like, fuck, and I had to back the truck up and then had to drive that shit to the ECP. The entire time of me driving through the ECP to go park the truck where it belonged, you would just see a fat ass fucking fuel spill trailing the fucking truck, right? This is the funniest shit, bro. I was so scared because I thought I was gonna get in so much fucking trouble, right? Whenever I did that. But turns out I didn't get in trouble at all because obviously I wasn't supposed to be operating the damn thing, but you know, they told me to operate it anyway. So, you know, it really wasn't shit they can say to me or do to me, which is fine. But that truck, that truck was out of commission towards the end of my deployment because we had to wait to get a new fuel tank for the motherfucker. After that, they was like, all right, Patterson, your ass is not driving a fuel truck ever again. And as soon as they say that, my fucking eye was delighted as fuck, man. I was so happy because I can tell you guys, as much as I miss driving that motherfucker, I hated driving that motherfucker because I had to fill up 114 generators, many of them multiple times a day. And that shit absolutely sucked. So from that moment on, I stayed at the fuel farm by myself. And I think this was sometime, I want to say January, early January. It had to be January because right before I got promoted to corporal, I got some KBR workers. Those are contractors. So I had some civilians out there working with me. I can remember this shit to this day. It was this old man. He was like 67 years old. His name was Mr. Sherman. He was an old black dude. Like, it didn't like white people at all. I'm talking about this brother was like a Malcolm X type motherfucker, right? He did not like white people at all. I had another guy. His name was James. You know, who was a big guy. He was in the Army. And I had another guy who was like the foreman, Riley. I remember Riley to this motherfucking day, man. He was he was in the Army as well, but he was like 34 years old. He was from Florida, so you know he was, straight Southern and all that other shit. And after that, the deployment got easy because I really didn't have to do as much work. Also, I mean, obviously, I still bust my ass every day with day-to-day operations such as ordering fuel, receiving fuel, testing the fuel occasionally. Fucking filling up Vicks as they come. But we all took breaks and everything, man. But man, I missed that shit like it was fucking nothing, dude. Like, just the fact that at first I really didn't want to deploy because I was like, man, I don't want to deploy. I just got to California. This is what I want to see and do. To the point to where, man, like, I don't want to fucking leave this place. Although, like, Iraq was like one of the shittiest fucking places, shittiest fucking living conditions anybody could live in. But at the same time, we was all close to each other, man. Like, I got so many hookups. I met so many people, right? They used to call me the hookup man because out there, for some fucking reason, I had a fuck ton of cigarettes. I'm talking about cartons of cigarettes stacked up to the fucking wall because I lived in, like, my little work area was like this little fucking office cubicle. It was like a mobile office cubicle. Only thing I had in it was my computer on like a desk, my chest, a refrigerator, an AC, and like on the wall it was just stacked up with nothing but cartons of cigarettes. But I had the key to the place so nobody can really get in. So the grunts, they always used to come out as soon as they figure I had fucking cigarettes. They always used to come trade me shit for it. They tried to trade me dumbass shit for it, like fucking unexploded ordnance and shit. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all crazy motherfuckers? So you know, after that point, after that time got done, you know, that's when we actually started upgrading the field farm, using HESCO barriers, which is actually stupid fucking nice, because I just, you know, I zoomed in on it on Google Earth the other day, and it's still the exact same way I fucking built it. So that was like damn near 5 years ago. So, you know, like, just to see it hold up still is like absolutely beautiful, because I'm looking at that, I'm like, damn, this is my work. And now I see all the other stuff that, like, the KBR contractors have done as well. So that's like, I miss it too. I miss it, man. I really do miss it. But that's the story, man. We got back in April 2016. I came home, and then, you know, that was the point to where, you know, I finally got to enjoy California. But moral of the story, ladies and gentlemen, no matter how bad you guys may think of the fucking deployment sucks, a deployment is a fucking luxury. If you get the opportunity to go on a deployment, go on a deployment. All right, you won't regret it at all. And I sure as hell, as fortunate as I am to get to the fleet and deploy right away, that is fucking rare. But thank y'all so much for watching the story, man, watching the video. If you guys are new, feel free to subscribe so that way you guys can, you know, hear more stories in the future, as well as check out some of my other content. But until next time, it's your boy, and I'm out. Peace.